Ramadan. We are now live with myself and my co-host Sister Julie on Sister Circuit, so we can welcome and we're going to be talking to you between now and 5 o'clock. So you do have us for quite some time. Um, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll let the listeners decide on that thing. But we are going to be here, inshallah, between now and 5 o'clock, and we've got a few things to discuss with you. We're going to be talking initially about fasting, then we're going to bring in the insight in just a little bit. Okay, yeah. And then we're going to go to our topic of today's show, which is modern day quotes versus historic quotes. So basically, the quotes that you would see on the likes of social media and the benefit of them in modern times, or lack of benefit of them in modern times, if I can find it, versus quotes that we have from our religion, because we're always told that Islam is so um, out of date and it was written so long ago, and how could it possibly be something that is relevant today? So we're going to be talking about Instagram quotes versus Islamic quotes, and we're going to recite for you some Islamic quotes and explain how they are 100%, um, you know, 100% accurate for today, exactly how we are living now. Absolutely. But first, what we want to do first is, obviously we're in Ramadan, we're in the month of fasting. Everybody, inshallah, is taking part in Ramadan, whether it be through fasting from food and drink, whether it be from fasting from other bad habits that they want to improve. Those that are not able to fast, perhaps they are donating to charity or feeding a fasting person. So everybody is involved in Ramadan in some way. Yeah. However, fasting isn't something that is only in Islam. It does exist in other religions as well. As a former Christian, it's something that absolutely that is just relevant to Easter. There are other religions around the world that have fasting in different formats also. Yeah. However, something that's becoming very, very apparent in the last few years in particular, fasting as health um, a health protocol has just gained so much recognition, and it's just snowballed and really become a really big phenomenon of people are realizing the benefits of fasting. Now, several years ago, fasting was kind of something that came out called the Bad 2 diet. Yes, which I remember when I heard about it, really I laughed a little bit. It's not really fasting, it was more of a reduced calorie diet where for 2 days of the week your calories were very, very restricted, or 5 days, I can't remember now. But it was only two, I think it's 500 calories for 2 days. So your calories were drastically reduced, but you were still now sleeping. So compared to obviously our Ramadan, where we're allowed nothing, very, very different. Yeah. However, what we're seeing now is people are realizing the health benefits of fasting, and they're realizing that if they are ill with something, fasting is a really good prescription option, and especially for people who are not maybe wanting to look to drugs first. Yeah. You know, medicine obviously is it's that thing though, isn't it? It's like drugs are a tiny pill. If we take maybe maximum 3 times a day, it's very potent, but it is a very, very tiny thing. Whereas food, which is we eat all the time, that has just as much effect, and that's that massively lots of effect. But also restricting that food has a massive effect as well on the body. And we expect things to be fixed by this tiny little white thing that you take 3 times a day, whereas we've got so much more control over our health than we think we have, just by what we do with food, what foods we eat, how we eat, what we restrict, when we eat, all that kind of thing. I think it was Socrates that said let medicine be your freedom, be your medicine. I'm not sure if it was Socrates, but it was somebody from that kind of era. But the thing is that obviously with medicine, obviously we use medicine a lot in today's society, we really do. But the Prophet peace be upon him, he told him that there is healing in fasting.
Yeah.
We could obviously, he didn't say we can't use medicine. He prescribed for us different
there was a cure for every illness. There is a cure.
There is a cure. Yeah. Except death, which that's something that we will all take to mention. However, fasting as like I said, as a tool of health, as a means of acquiring better health or improving your health, is really gaining momentum globally. And there are different types of fasting as well. So obviously, several years ago, a lot of people who were non-Muslim, especially, were taking part in this 5-2 fast. The Muslims have always taken part in the Ramadan fast, the Christians in their fast, the Hindus in their fast, and so on. But they were at appointed times. The fasting for health benefits, for example, is something else. And there are fasting where you fast a particular window, so you might do an 18-hour fast for 6 hours. You might
you eat in a 6-hour window. You don't have to eat for 6 hours solid.
Yes. Don't binge for that full time. Also, you could fast for 20 hours each before. There's the 1 meal a day option. Then people go beyond that as well. So there's a 36 hour, 48 hours, 72 hours, all depending on what it is you want to achieve, the benefits that you're looking for from that fast. Will determine really which fast you would like to choose. So really, it's about understanding the different fast options that are available and what it is you want to achieve. Now, some people might fast purely for weight loss, which is the wrong reason to do the Ramadan fast. The Ramadan fast is about gaining something.
Yes, absolutely.
As opposed to losing something. But when we're talking about fasting in general, so fasting for health or fasting for weight loss, outside of Ramadan, that's completely something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can attest to the efficiency and effectiveness of fasting. Half of it, lady, I was last year.
You are physically half the person you were last year. Alhamdulillah, mashallah.
So, and it's been down to, mashallah, I think to a lot in your guidance with regards to exercise and food as well, that sort of, avoiding processed food and eating real stuff. But also the, directly to this, it's intermittent fasting, or at least limiting the time of day. Okay. Somebody wanted the key, I don't know if it's okay.
Apologies. So basically what happened with you, Julie, is you decided that you wanted to improve your health, and one of the ways you want to do that was with some weight loss as well. So basically you set yourself on a journey of health, which included exercise, included looking at your food, but it also included fasting. Didn't it? Outside of the Islamic.
Absolutely, it's a health. Well, we call it a health fast. It's a work fast, isn't it? So it's basically, you restrict what you eat, but you don't restrict what you drink. Or you can drink as long as it's not got any calories in it. So that's basically what I did.
So which fasting did you choose, and how did you find it? Which fasting option did you choose, and how did you find it?
I tried everything. So in a mixture of, during a week I might do a 36-hour fast, and then I might do an 18-hour fast. I might do a 1 meal a day, kind of just mixing it up really.
Okay.
Compared to fasting in Ramadan, dry fasting, it's so much easier. It's so much easier. It was the results were remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And it's all that the changes within your body as well. That your body becomes more effective at using what it's got. I think because when you're fasting,
So when you're restricting calories, your body still uses the calories that you're taking in, as well as the stored energy you've got in the form of fat in your body. But if you're fasting and not taking in any calories at all, your body's got no choice. It has to use your stored calories, stored reserves, your fat, but also it has to get more efficient. And there's this thing called autophagy, which is basically, it's kind of like, this is this is very non-PC, so trigger warning about this is the way I think of it. It's a little bit like your body's, if you don't do any fasting, the health fasting, your body's a little bit like British Steel in the 80s, where it's like, as a business, it was like, it was going along because economically everything was fine, you know, that times were good, and but the employees within that business maybe weren't doing as well as they could be, or weren't being as efficient as they could be. You know, there was that, you know, people used to clock other people on and stuff like that. Anyway, things got hard, didn't they? And British Steel had to become more lean, had to get its crack together, basically. And they discovered that they could basically do the same business with half the number of people, and they had to, unfortunately, get rid of the people that they didn't need. And your body does something very, very similar. So the cells, or the bits within your body, not necessarily cells, but the bits within the cells that aren't working very well, are a little bit below par. Your body just breaks them down and replaces them with better, so they rebuilds, renews things, and that's really, you become more efficient as well. So it's a longevity thing as well. So you're more likely to stay well for longer if your body's working better.
I think for anybody that doesn't understand even the Ramadan fast properly, what we have to understand is that when we're not fasting, our digestive system is on the go 24/7, and it's one of the highest energy users in the body, because it doesn't get to stop. It's constantly having to go. And when we fast, any fast, the digestive system gets to rest, especially with the Ramadan fast, as you said, the dry fast. There's complete rest at that point, because once it's kind of digested and processed, either probably the suhoor meal, actually, once that's done that's job, it can then send energy to everywhere else in the body. So it can look at any area where there may be illness building up, an infection may have come in, there could be just some general weakness in that area, and it can start strengthening the body in those areas. What Muslims tend to do is, a lot of Muslims may only fast the month of Ramadan and not do any other fasting at all in the rest of the year. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, that's not what he did. He fasted it several times throughout the year. There was when the moon was a certain phase, he would fast. On certain days of the week, he would fast. Good news, bad news, certain times of certain months. So he was actually quite consistent with intermittent fasting throughout the year as well, because the Ramadan fast gives us our body a massive boost if we do the Ramadan fast correctly, which a lot of people don't. And then that little fast throughout the year would keep us topped up. And when I say a lot of people don't fast correctly, what I mean by that is, we sort of, because we're so hungry all day long, when it comes to breaking our fast.
When I break my fast, I'm going to eat this and this and this.
Exactly. And, everybody, I get asked a lot of clients and even of non-clients. I get asked so much, how do you try and stay healthy in Ramadan when people are constantly knocking at the door, delivering unhealthy food? And obviously it's a blessing as well. To receive some food from somebody is a blessing. And your intention may be to eat healthy, but when you see that kind of really tasty food, it's really difficult to kind of abstain at that point. Also, the person that's brought you the food, you want them to receive the blessings of feeding a fasting person. You don't want to put that food in the bin or waste it in any way. So there are lots of issues around that. And I said to a client recently, I said, the best advice I can give you is make sure that the food you prepare in your home is as healthy as possible. So that if you do get an unhealthy iftar treat, at least all of your meal on that day isn't, you haven't prepared something unhealthy yourself and somebody's left you a iftar treat. And making, several of your iftars unhealthy. As long as you're preparing healthy food
Yeah.
and somebody
Generally,
brings you a treat that maybe
Yeah.
isn't something that you wanted to have because it's
Yeah.
a bit unhealthy, at least there's some balance
Yeah.
in your
Mhm.
iftar that way. So leave the treats for other people to bring you, and you focus on
on the healthy
on,
stuff.
on
Yeah.
the healthy stuff, and
Yeah.
that might help a little
Mm.
bit as well.
Yeah.
However, the fast that obviously you were doing outside of Ramadan were purely for health
Health,
and
yeah.
weight loss. You can say no if you want to. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit,
Mm.
but would you like to share how much weight you lost?
Oh, yeah. I'll
With
tell you.
everybody that's listening, because
Right,
obviously
okay.
people that know you and see you
Yeah.
will be able to see, because like you say, you are literally half the person
Well,
you were.
Yeah, the thing about Jilly's though is there's these, sort of wearing sort of Islamic clothing like this. It's quite difficult sometimes to see how much weight I've lost, but it was quite easy to put quite a bit of weight on underneath it as well. It's just having no waistband.
Yeah,
It's quite forgiving, isn't it? No, I lost 6 stone.
6 stone. So that is
Yep.
the weight of a teenager,
Oh yeah, yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Mashallah, tabarakallah. But not only have you lost weight, but the health aspect that you have gained from
Oh,
losing that
yeah.
weight.
Body composition has changed absolutely dramatically.
And
yeah.
you exercised throughout your fasting as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the thing is, it's like you don't need to stop fasting. Sorry, you don't need to stop exercising because you're fasting. It's as long as you time it. Well, to be honest, I mean, I could do a 48-hour fast and be absolutely fine. But that's a wet fast, so at least you're taking in
water, fluids.
and you can take in electrolytes as well.
But still, it's very difficult, because I know from
Mm.
my own exercise routines that when I exercise, I want to eat afterwards. That's
Yeah.
for a lot of people
Yeah.
as well. It's that kind of
You're hungry afterwards.
I've earned the
yeah.
food.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Through
I
the
get you through it.
exercise. Obviously in Ramadan it's different, because your brain just switches off to you're not allowed it, and that's it. Your brain switches off to it.
It is funny, isn't it? Actually, work, because people at work are kind of going, "Oh, I shouldn't be eating in front of you," and I'm like, "Really? It doesn't bother
It's
me.
okay.
It's absolutely fine. I'm not even looking at that, going, I wish I could have a bit of that, because I know I can't." So
but the difference is between the two fasts, as well as obviously the duration, because as we mentioned just a moment ago, with the health fast, they can be 1 meal a day, they can be 36, 48, 72, they can go on depending on what it is you're fasting for. Somebody, for example, with a chronic disease would need to do the longer fasts to allow the body to do what it needed to do to heal.
Those are the ones, because you can fast for gut health as well. People who have very
absolutely
sort of issues with the digestive system, giving it complete rest for days
absolutely
is amazing.
Absolutely. But when you're exercising and fasting in Ramadan, there's no temptation to, I've done the exercise, I'm a bit hungry and thirsty, so I'm just going to eat a bit earlier, because you're aware that your fast is for Allah. And you're aware that you're being watched all the time, even if there's nobody around. There's no way you can sneak even the tiniest.
It wouldn't even occur
even
to
if you were, even if it was like you're doing your wudu and you're rinsing your mouth and you thought, no one can even see the amount of water in my mouth, so I'm going to just have a tiny swallow of a tiny amount because no one's here to see me. Allah would know. Allah would know. And obviously our intentions are accountable as well. So, but when you're doing a fast for health, it must be harder to not just think, but I am hungry and I am thirsty and I've done 20 hours. I'm just going to stop now and I'm just going to.
But do you see, I'm not like that though. If I've set a target, that's it. I'm going to do it.
So you're conditioned. Do you think the Ramadan fasts helped you
absolutely
to be able to do the other fasting?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the self-discipline you get from the Ramadan fast, absolutely. Yeah.
And has the other fasting helped you this Ramadan, do you feel?
I think so, yeah. I think a little bit, but it's definitely more the other way around. The other way on. Ramadan fasting is significantly harder than the health fasting. I was listening to something the other day about because there isn't very much research about the kind of fasting that Ramadan fasting is, the dry fasting. There's plenty of research about wet fasting and intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding or whatever they call it. But just recently there was a paper published about somebody did a 5-day dry fast to see kind of what effects it had on the body. And do you know, it makes me chuckle a little bit about you know, kind of science, years and years. I mean, obviously, like 1400 years after the fact, and going like, actually, so, you know, we've had years of people going, oh, it can't be very good for you not to be drinking. It actually, it's better for you. And funny how science, I know the thing with science is that facts within science only have a certain half-life, and something else will come along and disprove it. But just when sometimes the science comes along and goes like, actually what you're doing is actually, there's got some validity in science, and you're just like, yeah, it does. But it just,
Islam has a habit of doing that.
Yeah, in a lot, yes. But the paper showed that the equivalent in of your cortisol levels go right up because your body's extremely stressed, because you're not taking in water as well. But your body holds on to its electrolytes, so you don't need to take electrolytes like you do when you're fasting and drinking at the same time. But what also happens is that your the kind of levels of autophagy ramp up significantly more than it would do if you're wet fasting as well, to the extent that a 12 to 16 hour fast, a normal health fast, no, that's a other way on. A 16 to 12 hour Ramadan dry fast is the equivalent of 48 hours of health fasting. And the benefits of that, it has other benefits to normal fasting as well. And these benefits, because you're doing this every day for 30 days, carry on significantly after Ramadan. And it's the body, not only does it do the normal autophagy, which is where it breaks down the cells that aren't working very well, it breaks down and rebuilds significantly more. So there's significantly more recycling. So funnily enough, yes, science has come along and said, actually, Ramadan fast, the type of fasting you do in Ramadan is much better, different and much better than the wet fasting, but most people wouldn't be able to tolerate it. The only thing you can't really do is the exercise. You can't exercise to the intensity that you would do if you were able to take in water. So the advice was from the research was, if you're going to do exercise, make it more kind of low intensity, more of that zone 2 stuff, but towards the end of your fast as well, so you can, when you break your fast, then you can.
Yeah, there is a huge misconception. I know when I came into Islam and I started doing the Ramadan fasting, and people initially told me that I couldn't exercise for the month of Ramadan, and I didn't accept that at all. Exercise is just something that's built into me and something that I do, and the idea of missing it for a month, I couldn't understand it. So I didn't listen to them, thankfully, and I carried on exercising. And then I came across a lot of arguments from people that said you should exercise after iftar. But that's the worst thing that you can do, is have a body full of food and fluid and then start jumping around. It's just the worst thing that you can do. Not just in terms of it's going to feel uncomfortable, but the energy that you need to digest your food is then going to start going around the body, which you're using for exercise. And then that food's going to be not digested properly. So it causes a lot of complications unless you were literally going to have some dates and water and then do your exercise and then come back and eat. But to have a full meal and I'm sorry, but with all due respect, I don't want to exercise at midnight either. It just has no appeal to me. So I always exercised right up until literally like minutes before the azan would go off. And that exercise would always make my iftar break so much sweeter as well. But as you rightly said, I wouldn't do my normal routine. I wouldn't maybe lift as heavy. I wouldn't run as far, that type of thing. I would reduce it back, but I would keep myself going. But what we have to bear in mind with exercise in Ramadan is we have our salah as well. And a lot of people that do health fasting will practice a form of yoga along with that health fasting, because they understand the benefit of keeping the body moving. And even whilst fasting, that movement encourages the blood flow, the circulation, the oxygen, the removal of debris, the removal of toxins, we shouldn't just fast and
Mm.
lie on the sofa and tell everybody I'm fasting, so I just need to lie here for
I'm not
20
gonna move.
hours and just call me when it's time to eat. We can't do that, unfortunately, but it isn't good for us anyway. The
Yeah.
Prophet, peace be upon him, when he fasted, he carried on his normal duties.
Mhm.
Throughout the fast, he didn't ask for any type of relief from his duties. He continued, and we should do the same.
Mhm.
Just be mindful of what it is that we need to do and scale anything back that would jeopardize our fast or our health at the same time. And exercise is very, very possible, but Salah is a form of exercise,
Mhm.
especially in the month of Ramadan. People try and ramp up the amount of Salah they do.
Absolutely.
They
yeah.
try and do additional
Mm.
Salah, and obviously we have the well, it's difficult to attend the mosque at the moment, but normally people would be
Totally.
attending the mosque for, and some of the mosques read 8, some read 20. There's a difference there. Then there's no limit on the amount of nafil
Mm.
Salah that we can read as well. So when we look at the actions of Salah, they're very, very similar to very basic yoga.
Yeah.
In stand up, bend over, go to the floor, sit
Very
up,
similar, yeah.
come back up.
Yeah.
And this, when the heart is higher than the head in prostration, in sujood, that encourages the blood flow to come up into the head as well. So even just doing the actions of Salah with additional Salah is a very, very important aspect of exercise in Ramadan as well.
Yeah.
And obviously housework, running after the children, school runs, your activity at work,
your normal daily routine anyway. Yeah.
we are moving as well. So what I always recommend is, if somebody asks me, because people do come to me a lot and say, I want to lose weight in Ramadan. Ramadan, the focus of Ramadan is never to lose weight. You are going to lose weight because you're going to lose some water, and there should be a little bit of weight loss, but nothing drastic anyway.
Yeah.
But Ramadan is not the month to begin an exercise routine.
No.
If you're not exercising prior. It's like pregnancy as well. If you're already exercising, continue. But when you become pregnant or you begin Ramadan, this is not the time
to start something
to start exercise, to start something new, when your body is already going to be tested with the month of Ramadan. So wait until after Eid or after delivery of your baby. Speaking of babies, we do actually have some midwives coming onto the show.
Oh, yes.
Not today, but we do have some midwives joining us. So that will be a really interesting conversation, inshallah, with them. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we move on to our next topic in relation
I don't think so.
to
No, I think we've
the fasting?
We've talked around fasting, yeah.
So obviously all we're trying to promote is obviously the Ramadan fast is one way, but there are other fasting that can be done outside of Ramadan.
I think it was just interesting also that there's very little research done into it, but when they have done some research, they've just gone like, oh, it's actually all right. Yeah, it is.
But not just, basically, don't take Ramadan for granted. Don't take the benefits of the fast for granted. Don't think that it's just a removal of food and drink, or that it means getting up and, it's Allah knows how to keep us healthy.
Indeed,
way beyond what we can ourselves. And when you mentioned dry fasting, if you imagine that you have a water bottle, and I'm very sorry if anybody who's feeling thirsty right now, but if you imagine having, I need you just to imagine just for a moment that you have a water bottle and you only ever drink 3/4 of it. You always leave 1/4 of it in the bottom, and you keep adding fresh water on top. It's going to get to a point where you're not drinking fresh water anymore because you're not completely emptying it. You just keep adding more water, and it's going to get to a point where that water in the bottom isn't clean anymore, isn't pure anymore. Maybe some bacteria is growing in it and so on. That's the same with the dry fasting versus the wet fasting. When you dry fast, and you're not putting that fluid in. That's why normally in Ramadan, by week 3 and week 4, dehydration starts to come in somebody who isn't taking in enough water during the between iftar and sehri. When we do a water fast, the body always has water in it because we can keep it topped up. When we do a dry fast, which is what Ramadan is, we allow the old water in the body not to completely drain, but to drain more than any other time.
True,
and allowing that fresh intake. So, and the body is made up massively of water.
Yes.
So allowing most of it, the old water, to leave and
Mm.
refilling it with fresh water is an advantage to
Mhm.
dry fasting as well. I just wanted to explain that in case somebody just thinks it literally is an absence of water,
Mm.
but it isn't. It's very beneficial
Yeah.
to kind of
It's recirculating.
to do that as well. So something else that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to take a break, because it's really important that we allow our sponsors to come into our show. One of the things that I just want to quickly mention, and we did together actually
We did.
just a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
Now, everybody is aware that the start of Ramadan relies on the moon.
Yep.
And for each of the Eids,
Mhm.
we are determined by the moon.
Yep.
And just to make it clear before I go any further, one of the things that I'm not going to do on this program is have the debate of the moon wars. I'm not interested in this program, whether you follow the moon in Saudi, whether you follow the moon in India, whether you follow the moon in England, Morocco, Turkey. This isn't the show to be to have that debate of which is the right place to do that. There are other people that can do that more with more knowledge than what I can. What I do believe personally is very important for every Muslim listening is that we understand what it is we're looking for in the moon, and that we do try and cite it here in the UK. Now, when I came into Islam, I was told that we couldn't see it at all in the UK. It was too intermittent to be reliable. And here in the Tees Valley was very difficult as well because of our positioning being quite low down in the northeast with all the mountains around us and stuff. We, you know, we're quite low as opposed to some areas of the UK are higher, making it a little bit easier. So that just narrowed our chances. Now, what's happened in recent years is a organization called the New Crescent Society has come about, and they're literally just trying to revive the Sunnah and educating people on how to sight the moon. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that people have to follow the moon in the UK if they are following the moon of Saudi. This isn't the program to do that. All I'm trying to do is I feel it's very important upon every Muslim, regardless of what country they are in, to understand the cycles of the moon and how to sight the moon, not just the halal, but to understand other aspects of the moon as well. Because in terms of fasting, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he fasted on certain cycles of the moon, the white moon, for example. Wouldn't it be lovely to physically see the moon in these aspects and know
that it's the white
it's the white night, or it's a particular night, or you know, and so on. And what the New Crescent Society have done is they've gathered people from all over the UK, hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the UK, and they're asking people 12 months of the year, not just on Eid, not just on Ramadan, but 12 months of the year. They are asking people to go out and on the 29th of the Islamic month and try and sight the moon here. And quite often, to my understanding, the 29th comes back quite negative. And we are challenged with the weather as well here in the UK, more so in winter than in summer. However, there's been times in the last 9 months that I've been taking part, and before me that this has been going on, that somebody may not see it in London, but they may have seen it in high up in Scotland. Or somebody saw it in Wales, but nobody saw it in the northeast, but it was saw in the northwest. Or there's been months where the whole country saw it and there's no dispute about it. And then there's been months when nobody saw it at all. But what's really lovely is the knowledge that we are learning from this, and involve the children. Take the children, teach the children the cycles of the moon, how we follow the moon so much in Islam as well. And people seem to forget the moon for 10 months of the Islamic calendar and focus purely on Ramadan, Eid, Dhul Hijjah for Hajj. And we forget what the halal is doing for the other 10 months. However, the halal has to be spotted for the beginning of every month in the Islamic calendar. we have to cite it. And obviously, if we don't cite it, which is the argument a lot in the UK, well, what if you don't cite it? Islam tells us if you don't cite it on the 29th of the Islamic month, by default, you roll over to 30.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Mm.
But it's so lovely to, every month that you go out and you look for the halal,
Mhm.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
So that excitement that people get on the Ramadan sighting or the Eid sighting, and people are waiting, aren't they? They're waiting for that announcement from Saudi, or the announcement from the mosque, or the announcement from somebody in the family that has that connection with other people that are giving these announcements, and everyone's just waiting for that text, call, email, radio, internet, Islam TV, whatever it is. Everyone's waiting for that announcement, and then the excitement comes. It's been seen. But what if you could be the one that saw it?
Yeah.
Imagine the excitement. Well, I don't need to ask you to
I
imagine,
know.
because you've seen it. We've seen it together.
We did.
And should we tell them what happened?
Yeah, go on
You
then.
tell them what happened, because I've talked for a little
All right.
bit. So I'll let you. You
Well,
tell them what happened.
Well, yes. So we went on the Tuesday. I can't even remember what the date was now, but
The Tuesday was the 30th here in the UK.
The 30th here. Yeah. So the moon hadn't been sighted on the 29th
In the UK.
in the UK. So on the 30th we went up. Now anybody knows where Maze Hill is on the riverbank. So it's on the Middlesbrough side of the river. It's a really big hill with like I don't know, it's like a stick monument thing on the top of it. It's all entirely man-made, but hey. So
you can see it from the A19.
Yeah,
actually.
yes,
if you
can,
look
yeah.
towards the Tees Barrage, you can see two mounds as
The
you're
one with the
crossing
stick on
over
it.
the river. It's the one with the stick on it.
Yeah. So we went. There was about there must be around 12 of us, wasn't there? Kids included. Went up Maze Hill just before sunset. So we watched sunset, and we'd all taken snacks up, and then
Because you were fasting,
I
because
was
you'd
fasting
started fasting, because you
with
were following Saudi.
Saudi, yeah.
So you'd already started fasting, but you still came
yeah.
to see the halal here.
Yeah. And so we waited, and we kind of, the sky, basically, I mean, if you realize the hilal is going to be a sliver of moon, it's just a tiny little bit of moon, and we knew with the New Crescent Society had told us how to kind of a handspan from where the sun set, and we didn't really see where the sun set properly because it was cloudy at the time, and we thought we weren't going to see anything because it was really quite cloudy, and but then the moon should have been visible about 20 or 30 minutes after the sun set. And you'd taken some of the kids' binoculars, hadn't you? And we were all scanning the sky, and we're thinking,
And there were literally a cheap children's pair of binoculars. There was nothing technical about them.
No. And there was quite a lot of cloud, and we were like, oh, we're not going to be able to see it because there's quite a bit of cloud about. And then suddenly Amana saw it through the binoculars, this tiny, and you've got to bear in mind that the moon is just a little sliver, and the sky's really quite bright still after sunset. So there's hardly any contrast. It's just a hint, isn't it? And you'd seen it through the binoculars, and then we all saw it because we knew where we were looking then, and we all were able to see it. And because the moon set was going to be probably about half an hour after that, and the sky continued to darken, and alhamdulillah, the sky then cleared as well of clouds. It was very significantly visible, wasn't it? And we did some Facebook Live to the radio show here. So because it was then on the radio, other people had gone out and had a look, and people were taking pictures, and it was really lovely, wasn't it, that lots of people then got to see the hilal, because there was a sister in Saltburn, she'd gone to see it as well, so she'd taken pictures as well. So virtually
and
anyone,
some in Stockton, Middlesbrough.
yeah, and there's one in Redcar as well, wasn't
Yes.
there? Yeah. So in Tees there was lots and lots of people who saw it, but it turned out that because there's people who are sighting, I think it's from like Shetland to the Isle of Wight, isn't it? I think pretty much everybody. There's a few places that were cloudy in Wales, I think, but I think everybody saw it.
We were actually
really exciting.
when we were sat up, because we actually took some sheets, we took cushions, we sat We did take warm drinks. Those that were fasting, like yourself, took iftar as
I
well.
still took a warm drink. Years
And
after.
we were sat on the side of this hill waiting for the sun to set, to, as you said, to work out where the moon was going to appear. And for anybody that's never made the effort to sight the moon in the UK, what you need to understand is it's not like the full moon where it literally rises right above your head where you can see it and there's no question about it. It literally rises not very high above the horizon, and then
Well,
it disappears.
Well, it's
back
because
down.
it's actually it doesn't really rise, does it? It just becomes
Appears,
visible
just becomes
because
appears.
it's just like that tiniest little bit of the moon being illuminated by the sun before it sets. So it's virtually like it's setting as the sun's setting almost.
And it goes back
Yeah.
down to the horizon. So it's not available all night. You literally have about a 45-minute window if you're going to see it.
Yeah.
And then obviously the fact that it is a cloudy country that we live in, it might be too cold to go and stand on top of a mountain. It could be raining.
Yeah. I don't think we'll be standing on
depending on
Maze
where
Hill
you
in the
are.
winter.
In the UK. However, what happened was we were actually listening to the broadcast from the New Crescent Society, and we were being updated all the time with where in the country was sighting it, because obviously there is like minutes difference as it goes up the country as Maghrib time comes in, and Leeds said there was no sighting in Leeds, which was our closest at that point marker. So Leeds had stated they hadn't sighted the halal. So then we became even more discouraged, thinking we're looking at this amount of cloud. It is getting darker. It's getting colder. If Leeds can't see it, the chances of us seeing it are very slim. And it was literally about 5 minutes after that that we saw it. And like I said, we were just sat down quite relaxed, really, just enjoying each other's company and looking. But then once I saw it through the binoculars, the excitement of everybody was, well, where did you see it? Because it's a big sky. And everybody was, where did you see it? Where did you see it? And people were, at that point, really focusing on, I was trying to explain a landmark on the horizon to be able to look up, but the clouds were still moving as well. And it was, but within a few minutes, everybody then had located it as well. And it was just so exciting.
It was very special, actually. It was
rather than getting a phone call or a text or watching an announcement on somewhere else that somebody somewhere in the world has saw it. To see it yourself is really a blessing. It really is. And we don't know if we're going to see it or not. We don't know that. But it's so exciting and special to try. And I'd been sighting for 9 months. And I hadn't saw a single one. And my first halal sighting was this month of Shaban. And in the month of Shaban,
that month.
Again, I was linked up with the New Crescent Society, and everybody across the UK, hundreds of people were out looking for the sighting of the Shaban halal. And I was my household, so my husband, myself, my children, and one other household in the entire breadth of the country reported a sighting. And when you report a sighting, you have to take a photograph. You can't just say you saw it. You have to be able to prove it. So it requires photographs and your location as well. But only myself and somebody in Scotland sighted it in the whole country. And the sighting that I saw was there for 10 minutes and then it went. It went, beyond the horizon and I couldn't see it. But the excitement then, even though it wasn't Eid, it wasn't Ramadan, it felt like it because we'd saw it. So I just want to urge the listeners basically to understand the moon sighting, make the effort to understand. And again, whether you're following Saudi for the turn of the month or for the turn of Eid, or you're following a local country or this country, it doesn't matter. Just understand, educate yourselves on understanding. It's the sunnah to go out and look for it. We may have to rely on other countries. We may have to rely on the automatic rollover. We may have to rely on other sightings, but look for it because when you see it, it's really exciting.
It's lovely.
It really is. If anybody would like more information on how to sight, or even to join us on the next sighting, again, whether you're fasting or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're just happy to have you come along. We will be getting together to sight the halal for the next month, and every month after. You can join us any of those, you can drop us a message into the studio with your name and details. And we do have a Northeast lead, which is Shema, who is known very well on the radio anyway. She's the lead for Teesside, and she can basically guide you to the training that's available, the free training that's available.
There's a thing on Bangkok tomorrow, isn't it?
Tomorrow,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
can guide you to joining our sightings if you want to come along with us, or she can guide you to how to sight from your home. But just drop your name and number into the messages or into the studio, and we'll get in touch with you. I'll try and get Shema on the show next week if I can, even if it's only 10 minutes.
Okay.
But it's so lovely to do. So please do consider learning about the moon sighting and involving your family, and just sighting it yourself and
Yes,
experiencing
it is.
it.
It is very nice.
So we're going to go to a short break, and then we're going to get on topic, which is Instagram quotes versus Islamic quotes and their relevance today. So do stay tuned to Sister Circle. We are here with you until 5 o'clock. So please stay tuned. We will be back with you very shortly once I can get a message on from our sponsors.
Carpets, offering every customer the red carpet welcome.
अब हम आहिस्ता आहिस्ता लॉकडाउन से बाहर आ रहे हैं। अब हम दोबारा बाहर मिल भी सकते हैं, 6 लोगों के साथ पार्क में पिकनिक, लेकिन अपने अपने कंबल और आपस में बहुत सारा फासला रखकर। लेकिन अचानक कोई दोस्त दिख जाए तो उसे साथ आने की दावत ना देना बुरा लगेगा ना। लेकिन ज्यादा लोगों से मिलने का मतलब है कोविड-19 के होने का ज्यादा खतरा। इसलिए सिर्फ 6 लोगों तक के ग्रुप्स या 2 खानदान आपस में मिल सकते हैं। आइए इस अगले कदम को इंतहाई एहतियात से उठाएं। याद रखिए, हैंड्स, फेस, स्पेस एंड फ्रेश एयर।
ऐ वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू ही मेरी मंजिल है।
हर किसी की मंजिल वतन कॉन्टिनेंटल स्टोर ही तो है। वतन कॉन्टिनेंटल स्टोर, जहां पर आपको मिलेगा ताज़ा गोश्त, चिकन, फल और सब्जियां, तमाम मसाला जात, आला वैरायटी बेकरी का सामान। इसके अलावा किचन के तमाम बर्तन भी दस्तयाब हैं। इस रमजान आएं और हमारी स्पेशल ऑफर्स का भरपूर फायदा उठाएं। आपके मुंतजिर वतन कॉन्टिनेंटल स्टोर।
Wathan Continental Store, 26 to 30 Northcote Street, Stockton-on-Tees. Telephone 01642649400.
हाय, मेरा सारा सोने का जेवर चोरी हो गया।
बाजी, आपने घर पे कैमरे नहीं लगवाए थे?
कैमरे?
जी हाँ, आपकी और आपके सामान की हिफाजत के लिए ये जरूरी है कि आपके घर में जदीद सिक्योरिटी कैमरा और अलार्म सिस्टम लगा हो।
Twin Security Systems is your one-stop for all your security needs. Specialists in alarms, CCTV for home or business, and even vehicle CCTV and tracking systems installed for your peace of mind. All brands supplied and fitted by our team of experts. We also offer PAT testing and all your electrical needs. LED security lighting, installation and maintenance. Twin Security Systems are checked and vetted approved, so you know you're getting a quality workmanship guaranteed. For a no-obligation free quotation, telephone us on 01642 687070. That's 687070. Twin Security Systems, keeping you safe.
ज़हनी सुकून के लिए ट्विन सिक्योरिटी से आज ही राब्ता कीजिए।
पापा माफ। ये मुन्ना किस बात की माफी मांग रहा है?
वो माफी नहीं मांग रहा, पिज्जा मांग रहा है, और वो भी पापा माफ्स का।
Papa Maffs, Pizzeria and Grill. Pizzas so tasty your family will ask for us by name. Newly opened in Middlesbrough with over 20 years in the fast food business. Come and taste our amazing pizzas, flame grilled lamb, chops, peri peri chicken, parmos, burgers, wraps and so much more. Spend £20 and get any 10-inch pizza free. Exclusions apply. Papa Maffs, 7A Hartington Road, Middlesbrough. Telephone 01642 244 263. Order online. Visit www.papamaths.co.uk.
शादी तो मैं करूंगी, लेकिन एक शर्त है, योर इवेंट्स नॉर्थ ईस्ट की प्लानिंग के साथ।
Your Events Northeast, फिर कबूल है।
Your Events Northeast, helping to make your events and special occasions extra special. Whether you're planning a small and intimate wedding or something of a grander scale, let our experienced team make it a stress-free experience for you. We can take care of all the arrangements from flower walls, cakes, fruit displays, chocolate fountains, dessert tables, photography, videography, and so much more. Call us now on 077 141 99453 to discuss your requirements, or visit youreventne.co.uk and check out our social media accounts at yourevents.ne.
मम्मी भूख लगी मम्मी खाना दो
मम्मी आज आपको कुछ भी नहीं देने जा रही क्योंकि पापा ने किया हुआ है इफ्तार स्पेशल ऑर्डर हमजा से।
Hamza's Iftar Special. Meal serves 5 for £25 or 10 for £35 and includes starters and main. Starters, chicken shahi kebab, fish pakora, barbecue chicken drumsticks. Main course, ichari gosht or mid curry, vegetable curry, chicken rice, portion of pakora, naan or roti, salad and chutney. Hamza's 107 to 109 Waterloo Road, Middlesbrough. Telephone 01642 244 255 for your orders. Orders must be placed 2 hours before iftar.
Across Middlesbrough and Teesside, this is 104.5 CVFM Ramadan Live.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to Sister Circle with myself, Sister Amana, and Sister Julie. We've been talking about moon sighting and we've been talking about fasting.
We have.
Wet and dry fasting.
Yes.
And now, inshallah, we're going to get on topic, which is quartz and the benefits of old quartz from Islam
Yes.
today.
Relevance.
So I'm going to start with one from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he said, "Indeed, the greatness of reward depends on the hardness of the test. Indeed, if Allah loves certain people, he will test them. Whoever is pleased with the test will obtain his pleasure. Whoever detests it will obtain his detest." Now, something that we know from Islam is the Quran says that I will, did you think I will not test you as I tested everybody that came before you? There is no such thing as we are going to be born and everything's going to be perfect and then we're going to die and then we're going to make it into heaven. It's not going to be like that. We are going to be tested. The Quran tells us you will be tested with wealth, health, family, money, all of these things, food, loss of earnings, loss of family, loss of wealth, loss of health. We will test you with all of these things. And the test is how we react.
Yes, absolutely.
To the test. And this is very, very, very apparent in today's times because, for example, you sit in your GCSEs. You study like crazy, something happens and you get a result that you didn't expect in a negative way. What do you do at that point? Do you just say, oh, well, I failed my GCSE, I got an E or an F, that's it, I'm stupid, I'm not clever, I can't do anything, so I'll just give up and I won't do anything, I'll just stay at home and mom and dad can provide for me, look after me and so on? Or do you go, okay, did I revise well enough? Did I really put everything into it? What could I have done different? Maybe I just need a second go. Maybe I need to try harder, and
yes,
it's that intention of not giving up.
Yeah. To learn something from the outcome.
To learn something. It might be, that learning point might be, for example, say, for argument's sake, that you got a F in German. I would probably get an F in German because I'm rubbish at languages. I would then probably question and go, okay, I got an F in my German. Do I need German? No. Am I going to go to Germany? Probably not. Do I need to speak it on a daily basis? Probably not. The job that I want to go for, will I need it? Probably not. Maybe I should try a language that I will need. Maybe I should do a qualification in Arabic, in Urdu, I'm going to go and live in Spain, so I'll focus on Spanish. Or maybe languages isn't my thing. It's okay because I got an A in something else.
Yeah, it's a fit. It's a fit, isn't it? It's what fits the person. So you can't always shove your mind into a hole that it won't go into.
Absolutely, but it's all about how we react to that
Indeed,
failure.
yes, absolutely.
If we failed in something, oh well, it doesn't matter. Is that a good attitude to have, or it's no problem? It's okay. I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on my strength, or I'm going to focus on it, or I'm going to try again. It's the attitude that we react with.
Yeah, there's a great deal of blame that happens.
Definitely.
Yeah. So if somebody fails at something, it's like, what did other people do to make me fail? Whereas, and it's almost universal. It happens in workplaces, it happens in homes, it happens in schools. It's like, okay, so I can't possibly be, something happened that went wrong, and I can't possibly be to blame. There must have been something else that happened, something else that I can blame, or that or to deflect the blame from yourself, or to kind of lay it off on other people as well. And it's just like, Islam teaches us to look first and foremost at ourselves. If something does happen that doesn't turn out quite right, it's like, okay, look at yourself first. And that there might have been other factors as well, but what could I have done different? Or if if somebody's upset, it's not that oh well, they're just upset. It's, well, what could I have done different that might have left them less upset or not upset at all? So it's all about kind of introspection as to first, rather than blaming outward first. Sort of looking at who else you can like mitigate your blame on. And it's a good way to be to look at yourself first and be very much more, okay, where do I stand with regards to whatever it has happened or whatever outcome you've had. And it means that you're constantly re-examining your life, because a lot of people go through their life with their internal narrative and not really examining what they're doing at all. It's just you tell yourself your little story, and you never actually stick a spotlight on it and find out if it's even really true.
The thing is as well that you may think, well, what does failing or achieving my GCSEs have to do with Islam? But again, Allah wrote whether you would pass or you would fail your exam, and sometimes the failure isn't the result, but the test of failing is the result.
Yes, absolutely. It's the process. Sorry.
So it's
a bit of a cough. It's not COVID. I did a test yesterday. It's not COVID.
It's just you can't cough these days, can you, without worry? But it's just the dry air in here. But it's that test. So Allah's put you in the position of failing your GCSE to test. What do you do now? What do you do next? Are you going to be angry? Are you, like you said, are you going to blame somebody else? Are you going to acknowledge that maybe you didn't try hard enough? Will you take it? Will you be patient through that test? The smallest of, we don't realize that sometimes our tests are very, very small. For example, a child who is stood waiting their turn to go on a swing, and another child cuts in that hasn't been waiting at all. That's even that is a test. How is the child going to react? How is the mum going to react with the child waiting as well? Tests are not always huge and big and as we imagine them to be. Sometimes it can be small tests. It can be a case of it's a warm day and I'm going to get myself a cold drink and I'm in the company of you and I don't ask if you need a drink as well. Even though I have the means to buy us both a drink, do I just buy myself one because I'm thirsty? Or do I consider that you may also be thirsty? Or if I only have enough money for myself, okay, no problem, Julie, I'm going to get myself a drink. I'd love to buy you one. I don't have enough money, but the one that I have, would you like half of that? There is that the testing of us sometimes can be very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, yes, it's a big test. We may lose a job, and we need that job to pay for the house, the bills, the family.
Yeah.
We may lose a family member.
Mhm.
We may lose a partner. Not get the results we want in our studies. There are bigger tests, but there are daily small
Yeah.
tests. At the moment, we're all being tested that we wake up in time
Mhm.
for not just Fajr, but in time for Suhoor.
Mhm.
Some people, they say, oh, I slept through. I wasn't hungry. Okay, did you? But what about Fajr? You may have slept, if you don't want to have Suhoor.
Yeah.
But did you wake up for Fajr?
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you're just sleeping through, you miss the point of Suhoor and Fajr being together.
Mhm.
This type of thing. So tests can be small as well. But where the Prophet, peace be upon him, says here, indeed, the greatness of the reward depends on the hardness of the test as well. So sometimes the bigger the test, the harder it is to react the correct way.
Yeah.
Because when we are tested, especially if we get something in the form of a shock, something happens in a shock,
Yeah.
whether it be news or we see something,
Mhm.
and the brain doesn't always process it fast enough. So there may be instant feelings of anger
Mhm.
or instant feelings of disbelief that thing has happened, or instant feelings of emotion, and trying to control yourself
Mhm.
in that instance where the body is reacting, the adrenaline is surging and the emotions are happening. And that's when we are told to have sabr.
Sabr, yeah.
And it's the most difficult time to have sabr, when your brain is trying to process what it is hearing or seeing, and your emotions are taking over and you're in shock. It's so difficult. And that at that point is a test. And sometimes people say, well, it's okay for you, you have everything, so you're not being tested. I'm struggling to earn enough money to pay for my bills. I'm divorced, my children have abandoned me, I have no family, the job doesn't earn enough to pay for the bills, I'm in ill health, and you have loads of children, loads of family, loads of wealth, you have everything, it's okay for you, you're not. But these things are also a test.
They are indeed. And the one thing you learn as time goes on through life is that everyone's got stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Everyone's got stuff going on.
Absolutely. And we don't show it, because imagine if every
not
time we
everybody
met,
talks about it. Yeah.
imagine every time we met that we just discussed the negative things. Now, we would all have huge mental health issues. And I know mental health is a big thing, and it's becoming bigger, especially with what's happened with all the isolation and the quarantining aspects and that type of thing. However, if all we did was discuss negative things all the time, we all try and be positive, and that positivity shares and it spreads. But negativity can do that as well.
Exactly the same.
But I've got to admit, sometimes when you're walking through, say, the shopping center or the supermarket or something, and quite often you'll see people that you know, and as you see them, you might say, oh, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? You okay? Oh, that's good. But you kind of keep walking, but you acknowledge somebody that you know. Or sometimes even you'll pass a stranger on a morning when it's quiet, but there's a lot of walkers or runners or dog walkers out. And if you're out at that time, a lot of people that you pass will say, morning, how are you?
Oh,
And
yes.
Generic response, I'm fine, how are you? Good, thank you. Keep walking. Sometimes I've been out running or walking really early, and this has happened to me. And I've been so tempted to say, actually, I'm not okay. Actually, everything's going wrong. Can I talk to you about it? But we don't.
And they'd all go, ooh.
We don't do that. It is a very expected response that the person that you ask is okay will respond that they're okay. And sometimes we're not. Sometimes we do have things going on, and like you say, I think if we had a day of absolute honesty every time we asked the person that we met, wherever we met them, how are you? And we had some kind of like truth serum where we were forced to be compelled to speak with whatever was going on. I think we would be surprised at just what people are going through and what people are finding difficult.
Yes.
And we all find different things difficult as well.
Because one person's really difficult trial be somebody else's like, really? But it is for that person who it's difficult for. It's that difficulty. It's not what it is. It's the effect it has on them that's the important thing. So yeah, so something that you would be trivial to me might be a mountain to somebody else, and that's their mountain, isn't it?
I think the best thing we can do at that moment is acknowledge that it is somebody's test.
Yeah,
that's what Allah has appointed for them, and rather than, like you said, really is that it? At that moment, if somebody shares their test with us, that's then a test on us as well. And we have a choice at that moment. We can do a dua for that person. Allah, that person's been really tested. Make it easy for them. Make their test easy. Grant them sabr. Grant them relief. Whatever help they need, make it possible. We can do a dua for that person. And something happened to me actually this week where somebody, without going into too much detail, I was collecting donations for something, and one sister messaged me, and the donations were of all amounts. Different people messaged and said, I want to give this, I want to give this, I want to give this. But this one sister, she messaged and she said, I really want to donate something, but I only have a small amount, and I'm sorry it's not anymore, but can I give it? And I said, of course you can. So I accepted the donation. And a couple more times she apologized for what she believed was a low amount of donation. And I said, sister, I said, look, I said, never ever apologize for giving a small donation or not feeling you are giving enough of a donation. I said, the amount you have given, Allah written for you to give that exact amount, firstly. I said, secondly, we come from a religion where giving half of a date is accepted as charity. And giving a smile to somebody that needs it is charity. Please never, ever, ever question that your financial donation is not enough.
Definitely.
So I had that conversation with her, and then I made dua for her to understand the conversation that we had. Because again, this is testing, and we're in the month of Ramadan at the moment, so things are a little bit easier because we're going just on our own good and bad actions. Shaitan's not making things more difficult. But imagine if Shaitan outside of Ramadan had whispered to that sister, well, if that's all you can give, you may as well not give. You should be embarrassed giving this amount. So don't embarrass yourself. Don't give it. Buy yourself this instead. Buy yourself that instead. Don't give it. And this is a test, and we don't think sometimes that these smaller actions are indeed tests. We always associate something really big, but we are tested hundreds of times a day on some really small things as well. And all I'm going to say to end this particular quote is, if you see somebody being tested, whether it's something big or something small, just make dua for them. It takes seconds. 10, 15 seconds. Allah, this person is being tested. Make it easy for them. Ameen. With sincerity. But it's so easy to do. And I'm going to read this quote from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, again, and then we're going to move on to the next one. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he liked to repeat, and I am a mum, so I am compelled to repeat anyway.
I didn't
So repeating this is easy for me. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, indeed, the greatness of reward depends on the hardness of the test. Indeed, if Allah loves certain people, he will test them. Whoever is pleased with the test will obtain his pleasure, and whoever detests it will obtain his detest. So just to summarize that, where it mentions, whoever is pleased with the test, sometimes when something happens, we are so tempted to say, Allah, why me? Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to us? And that is the test as well. We should never say, why me? What we have to understand is that Allah never burdens the soul beyond what it can bear. And if Allah is putting that burden upon you, he knows you can carry it. So we just have to place all of that problem into Allah's hands and know that He is the best disposer of affairs. Trust that He is the best of planners more than what we are. And if He has brought us to that test, He will bring us out the other test. Just make sure that we pass the test in a way that pleases Him. That's the really ultimate thing to do with being tested. Now, this next bit's a little bit lengthy, so there's a lot of lessons in what I'm going to read. And the reason that I'm reading this, because we all love these really small, short quotes, but sometimes we get these forwards in WhatsApp messages or social media, and there's like a story, isn't there, with a meaning at the end, and they're always really lovely. But again, we have Islamic
they're always very lovely, but
options
always made up
of those. And sometimes, so I'm just going to read this one. So this is advice from Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, and may Allah be pleased with him. And it says, it's quite lengthy, so I'm going to read it slow. And it says, a friend will not literally share your struggles, and a loved one cannot physically take away your pain, and a close one will not stay up the night on your behalf. So look after yourself, protect yourself, nurture yourself, and do not give life's events more than what they really are worth. Know for certain that when you break, no one will heal you except you, and when you are defeated, no one will give you victory except your determination. Your ability to stand up again and carry on is your responsibility. Do not look for your self-worth in the eyes of people. Look for your worth from within your conscience. If your conscience is at peace, then you will ascend high. And if you truly know yourself, then what is said about you will not harm you. Do not carry the worries of this life, because this is for Allah. And do not carry the worries of sustenance, because it is from Allah. And do not carry anxiety for the future, because it is in the hands of Allah. Carry one thing, pleasing Allah, because if you please Him, He pleases you, fulfills you, and enriches you. Do not weep from a life that made your heart weep. Just say, "O Allah, compensate me with good in this life and the hereafter." Sadness departs with sajda. Happiness comes from sincere dua. Allah does not forget the good you do, nor does He forget the good you did to others, and the pain you relieved them from. Nor will He was about to cry, but you made laugh. Live your life with this principle. Be good. Easy upon him when he received bad news. He felt that
these mental health issues around, and the that we have is forgotten control over of ourselves and of how
that other people's opinion of you, other people's worth on you is in Tupperware. I'm talking about people. People are becoming very plastic. We are becoming a very, very fake society because there's so much pressure put on people to look a certain way, to look 30 when they are 60, to hide any signs of aging, to combat all of these things. And the access to social media just drives that even further, because we can add a million filters and we can literally pull our waist in, and we can do all of things through these apps and stuff.
Post their lives on people post a life on Facebook or Instagram or what have you. It's their idea of what they want their life to be, really, because the life probably isn't anything like that. It's just very fake, isn't it?
The thing is, what we have to remember is Allah made each of us unique, and He made us to look a certain way, and we may look in the mirror and not be happy with how we look, but Allah made us like this. Allah was happy. So Allah designed us and went, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And then
Who are we to be unhappy with it?
and then we are criticizing ourselves. Oh, I wish this was more like this. And I'm not free from that either, because I'm guilty as well. I think everybody is to an extent.
Yeah.
We always want to be, that bit more this or that bit less that. It's human nature that we are never satisfied in a sense, which is why it's so important to emphasize that, with the remembrance of Allah, this is where our hearts find rest, and not in how we look or material things or what we achieve. That it's that inner content as opposed to that outer content. But the truth of it is that the world is very fake, and the world is very plastic. And whether people are Muslim or non-Muslim, the world is surrounded by this, and it's you have to fight really hard to stay away from it. You have to fight really hard to not be influenced by it, and to stay influenced by Islam and by the correct things, and know that these things do not matter. But it is difficult, especially for the younger ones coming up, to not feel that pressure of that peer pressure. I want society to like me, to like me physically, mentally, have that connection with me spiritually. It's very, very difficult. But if we focus on the fact that, maybe that person doesn't appreciate my looks, but Allah designed me this way. He likes the way I look.
Yes.
That person may not appreciate the food that I made, but the food that I made is using the skills that Allah blessed me with. Allah, if Allah's happy with my effort,
yes,
this type of thing. So always we know as Muslims that when we begin anything, we begin with Bismillah.
Yes.
And we shouldn't even visit a friend without visiting a friend to gain Allah's pleasure. I'm gonna go and visit a friend because I like that friend. I'm gonna go and visit that friend because I want Allah to be pleased with me. That friend needs company, or that friend needs a visit, or that friend needs some guidance, whatever it is. Everything Bismillah, in the name of Allah, for Allah as well. Not just in his name, but for him. And then it becomes about attaining them good deeds. Them good deeds, we hope, will weigh heavy on the scales of judgment when we are being accounted for our mistakes and our intentions. And we hope that the scale is heavier on the good deeds, and that we make it across the bridge and we make it into Jannah. So it's really important that we do put our trust and our emphasis into Allah's hands, gain his pleasure, gain his reward, because any reward that we get from the people has a time frame to it.
Yes.
If I do something good for you and you return it with thank you, that thank you is very short. The word thank you is very short, and you may remember that good thing several years down the line, but I'm not receiving any further benefit from you remembering that good thing. However, if Allah accepts it as a good deed, he stores it in the bank for us, and then he will empty that bank on the day of judgment. And it never goes, a good deed is never forgotten. It's remembered by Allah forever. And then it will be weighed on the scales of justice long after you've forgotten it. If it's accepted by Allah, rather than by you as well, but if it's accepted by Allah as well, I have benefit in this life and the hereafter. And it goes long beyond a thank you.
Yes.
Or a memory.
A faint appreciation.
Yes,
absolutely.
So it's so important that we understand that, and that we understand that ultimately we want acceptance from Allah, we want his pleasure, we want the reward with him, not from people.
Yes.
It's lovely to get a thank you, of course it is.
We are all sensitive souls as well. If somebody says something nasty about us, it's very difficult to go like, well, I don't even care.
Because we do.
Because we do care, and we are sensitive. And we're like, well, how could somebody say something so, completely horrible? And it's particularly if it's something that's like not even faintly in truth, it's just somebody making up nasty stuff. It's like, why would somebody do that? I know I'm a bit of a sensitive soul, so if somebody says something about me and I'm like,
But we also know from Islam that in that moment when that happens, that again it comes back to that test aspect
Yes.
of, I really hate that person because they said something and it upset me, or they did something, or they took something from me. So I'm angry, or I hate them, or I dislike them, or even worse, I hope something really bad happens to that person because they've done something bad to me. So I hope, you know, kind of people use the word karma a lot. I hope karma catches up to that person and they experience something bad as well.
Yeah.
We know that in Islam that yes, we do have an eye for an eye, but forgiveness is better. So at that moment in time, rather than allowing that reaction of anger, and I'm not trying to sound like I do this perfectly, because I'm human as well and I make the mistake. So this is a reminder.
Struggle. It's a constant struggle.
Yeah,
isn't it?
this, you know, all of what I'm saying is a reminder to myself as well. You know, at first before anybody else, in fact. But we have to do our best to, if somebody does something bad to us, either if it's forgivable, forgive them.
Yeah.
If we are struggling to forgive them, ask Allah to make it possible that we can forgive them.
Yes.
And ultimately, Allah, this person has wronged me. You forgive them. You have forgiveness on them.
Yeah.
You know, even if I'm too weak to have that forgiveness, can you forgive them? And it's hard and it's not easy. But again, this is all part of the test, and we have to step back sometimes when something is going on. And sometimes it is some time afterwards when you start kind of replaying what happened. Sometimes you can think things through with a calmer mind. And you may even have to ask, you know, Allah, this thing happened to me and I reacted wrong. I didn't mean to react that way. And in hindsight, I've realized that
Yes.
the reaction was wrong.
Yeah.
Forgive me for that
Yes, you can
reaction.
ask forgiveness at any time, can't you?
Yeah.
So it's always useful to replay your actions. You know, you don't just move on. You kind of just go back and go like, no, did I react quite as well as I could have done to that? Yeah.
But
Did I
something,
cover myself in glory or not?
but something from mental health aspect as well. When we hold on to trauma from past, whether it be, again, somebody said something that we just hung on to that really impacted on us. It might have been nothing for that person, but it might have been something really emotionally attachment to us. Sometimes that mental health aspect of letting it go,
Forgiving
and by
moving past it,
you personally forgiving that person, you don't have to pick up the phone. That person might not even have contact. That person might not even be alive. But just personally within you, forgiving that person for that thing, or asking Allah to help you forgive that person, or Allah to forgive that person, can be a means of letting that trauma go as well.
Definitely.
And then moving on and not carrying that emotional baggage, because how can we strive to be better when we hold ourselves in the past as well? And again, it's not easy, and I'm not trying to, you know, kind of brush over something that and attain that it's a simple thing to do. Just
No,
do it. It isn't.
If it was simple, people would do it.
You may have to repeat that notion. You may have to repeat that intention lots of times.
Yes.
Before it really works for you. But have that trust in Allah and ask Allah to forgive you and that person or that scenario or that thing. And this month is the perfect month.
It is, yes.
To try and do that as well. So I have another lovely quote. Let's have a look. It says, Yahya bin Mud'adha, Allah be pleased with him, said, the world is worthless to you. Sorry, forgive me. Let me start again. The world is worthless to its Lord, and yet it belongs to him. So it is not right that you value it so much, and it is not even yours.
Yeah.
We do, don't we? We strive so much to collect it, to hoard it, to give value to it, to the more of it we have, the more important
The next big thing.
we are. The, you know, I own 9 acres. That's lovely. I own 19 acres. I have an island. I have a jet to get to that island. Or, you know, again, that celebrity kind of status that especially the younger ones think is where they want to be.
Yes. It's
but
believing that how you get happiness from stuff.
Yeah, back to that word, stuff again.
Stuff.
And it says here, the world is worthless. And is worthless to Allah, yet he owns it. So he owns everything. And even to him, it doesn't mean anything. It's worthless. So why are we trying so hard to attain
running
it
after it?
when even Allah says to him it's worthless? You know, why do we give it value? Why are we fighting for it? And countries are killing each other.
Oh, yeah.
To rule each other. To
Yeah.
this country is mine. This continent is mine. Why?
Strategy.
It's
Power.
Allah's anyway,
Yeah.
and it has no value to him. Why are we giving value to us? I don't have the answer. I wish I had the answer. I don't have.
I know it's from an attitude, I think, that doesn't admit to the a deity. That's, you know, that everything is ultimately comes down to what happens on the earth, and there's nothing else that matters. And it's exactly the opposite.
It is, and I think we have to be really careful, because when you look at a lot of the celebrities, whether they be in films, actors, they've acquired that status through ownership of something. They're never truly happy either.
No.
They're never truly happy. They, despite having homes in several continents, owning several businesses, having money that they could never spend in a lifetime, they're still trying to acquire more.
Or they're certainly not happy. I mean, you know, there's the amount of high level celebrities that end their lives, you know, being unhappy. You know, for someone who is a normal person, you can think, well, how can they not be happy? They've got this, and this. You know, you'd list a mile long as to, you know, what they should be happy about, and they're not. So what is it that they are lacking? And it's certainly not material stuff.
Yeah, because they have
because they have everything they could possibly want, you know, beyond the dreams of avarice. But
then, you know, if we do a complete 360 and we look at 180, my maths isn't fantastic. If we do a complete turn and look the other direction, at the people,
that'd be 180.
there are tribes that still live in the Amazon rainforest. There are islands that we as civilized people are not allowed to even venture on. They're protected because there are tribes that live there, and they're trying to keep them from having the contact with us for the influence that we will take them away from what they do. There are the tribes that live in the deserts. There are people that have very minimal contact with built up civilization. Some of them have no contact at all. They're completely independent, apart from when we venture into their territory to make a documentary. But they live in these small tribes, and like either in a cave or in some type of tent, or something that they've constructed, and they're happy. They don't have ornaments. They don't have jewelry as the jewelry that we know. They don't have a wardrobe with, a winter wardrobe and a summer wardrobe, or a wedding wardrobe, or a holiday wardrobe. They're not traveling across the seas.
So what is fulfillment, really, isn't it? It's what makes a human being happy.
I mean, a personal kind of note from my own self is, I would love, if I had the knowledge and I don't, to be able to live that type of lifestyle, free from that connection of, because we are in such a community, society, and a way of living where we have this whole 9 to 5 aspect, but then at 5 o'clock you just assumed you should be taking on something else afterwards. Let's work Monday to Sunday. Let's not take a day. Why would you take a day off? Be constantly at the disposal of everybody via your mobile phone and internet. Be reachable wherever you are. Your success is deemed by how many things you are juggling, how many jobs, how and we place success on how busy somebody is rather than how productive somebody is.
because they're not necessarily the same things.
No, they're not. You know,
very definitely not.
Busy and productive are two very, very different things. And when you see these people that live in the desert or in the rainforest or, you know, on these islands, they have nothing yet they have everything. They have nothing yet they have everything they need. Yes, life is difficult because there's no shop. They can't go and buy the food. They're hunting their food. They don't have a successful hunt. There's no meal. You know, but imagine being like your life being as slow paced as theirs, being able to not think, I have the dishes to wash, I have the house to clean. They have a tent. They have a tent with 10 people living in it. So it's not as if, these days you have one person living in a room with 10 rooms, you know, and only using one room and not using any of the other rooms. And some of these richer celebrities, they have, it's like it's beyond a hotel, the size of some of their homes. And they can't possibly be using each of these rooms. You know, some of these rooms they may only use once a year, yet they own them. Yet the Inuits and the tribes and, you know, I forgot what they're called, the ones that were in the deserts. What did they call the ones in the deserts?
Bedouins.
The Bedouins. You know, their house is one tent.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't have, you know, a room for this and a room for that.
Yeah.
They rise with the sun. They go to sleep with the sunset. They go by the seasons. They don't have alarm clocks. They don't need to be woken up. They don't have technology like we have in terms of the phones and the computers and the internet. So they're not worried about, you know, the Bedouins in the Sahara Desert aren't stressing about the Bedouins in know, in another desert somewhere else, because they've got no even knowledge of their existence. They're just focused on themselves. And we as a society forgot how to do that.
Yes.
We are so focused on what everybody else is doing. We have forgot that individual, or not individual, but like kind of immediate focus of us, family, and the people immediately around us. And I would love to go. If I thought I had the knowledge to survive that way, I would do it. Absolutely. I would just unplug from you know, the electronic grid, so to speak, and just have that kind of
go off the grid
and just live in nature. But unless Bear Grylls is listening to this radio show and he's happy to have me accompany him, that's going to be because you would need somebody that had that knowledge to do that with. And because we live in this built up society,
we don't know how
we don't have that knowledge.
Wouldn't survive, would we? We'd
No.
get chilly pretty quick.
Yeah, you know, and how many people would just need to go and find the nearest drive-through quite quickly, or, you know, without being able to order food somehow. So it's, you know, I think we are so busy focusing on being busy.
Yeah, we have a lot of distractions, a great many distractions.
We forgot how beautiful simplicity is, and
and how fulfilling it can be as well.
Less is so more. In every aspect except chocolate. You know, and a lot of people that know me will are probably just falling asleep listening to me talk, and they heard me say chocolate, they probably just walk back up.
You just got no. What's the matter?
You know, she's mentioned chocolate. What's she talking about? But you know, it's no, really, less is more. I was talking to somebody recently who said to me, he goes, I have a wardrobe. This is somebody who's retired, and he said to me, I have a wardrobe full of shirts and trousers and, you know, smart clothes that have been there 5 or 6 years, and I've never took any of them out. I have no need for them. I keep them in case, you know, but we all do that, don't we? We all kind of, I'll buy 2 of those in case one breaks. I'll buy 3 of those. Women especially, I've gained some weight, but I'll keep hold of them clothes for when I lose weight, or, you know, vice versa.
I just did that. I just cleaned everything out. That just like
did you get rid of all the clothes that don't
twice
fit anymore?
as big as they need to be, yeah. And whatever I do, they fall off. No, they went out. I've got very empty drawers now.
But this is where we give to charity, isn't it? But
Yes, yeah.
we also know that a time will come where there'll be nowhere to give charity to. This is one of the signs of the end of times, that we will look to give charity and there'll be nobody to accept it. And if you look at the charity shops at the moment, they are overflowed
Yes.
with charitable donations. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was in Dubai and I came out of a mosque, and all the mosques over in Dubai seem to have charity banks really close near them. And we came out of the mosque and I was looking at the charity bank, and there were really big charity banks, like the kind that you would get in the supermarkets here, the really big, huge bins. And there were, you know, one bin for this, one bin for that. But all the goods were surrounding the bins because the bins were so full, and the quality of the donations around the bin was really good quality. There was nothing broken or damaged. Everything was in really good condition. And I stood looking at it and I couldn't help but remember that hadith that talks about a time will come where there'll be no one to give your charity to. And I just looked and I said to my family, look, these people are giving charity. And they can't even distribute it quick enough before the charity is sitting there. And you have to question at that point, is it because there's less poor people, or are the wealthy just acquiring too much stuff?
Yes.
And then we realize we have too much stuff and we try and get rid of that stuff. So I don't think there's becoming more poor people. I think the rich are just acquiring more stuff, and that stuff is becoming disposable. We have no value to it. You know, 30, 40 years ago, if something broke, it got fixed and fixed and fixed and fixed and fixed, and it still got passed down through generations who continued to fix it until it was beyond fixing. Something breaks now, we just get a new one. No concern about the fact that it's, you know, we're wasting products as well. And something that I'll mention quickly while we're on the topic of disposable things. You know, as Muslims, we should really try to be zero waste as much as possible. And, you know, think about what we are doing. And Ramadan has become such a time where we try and decorate our homes, either in Ramadan or on Eid. We have times where we are giving gifts to people or giving iftar as well. If you're giving iftar to somebody, it's very difficult to give your own plates away because you'd have no plates left. And then you have to rely on that person bringing your plate back, and you don't want to be short on your dinner set. But at the same time, and I know from my own self, when I've been giving iftar in the past, that we use a lot of disposable things to give that iftar in.
Yes.
But then what happens? We're piling up that single use item. And the money that paid for that single-use item is sort of a waste as well. It's becoming really popular as well that people are decorating their iftar items with different just to make it look pretty. And I do. I love things that look pretty. We all love things that look pretty. But at the same time, I can't help but look and think, again, the money and the single-use item that it's becoming. Try and use, when you're giving your iftars, try and use something that could be cleaned and used again. Glass is fantastic for being reused, but obviously you may not have it handy. But just whether you actually buy somebody a bowl and put the iftar in that, or a plastic that might be more reusable, just be mindful of
everything,
of what we're doing, because we have to learn as Muslims not to waste things, whether that be time, whether that be money, or whether that be stuff. You know, the word stuff, product, material. So if we can pass the iftar in something that can be used again, whether it be for crafts. We got an iftar recently that had this really big gold ribbon on it, so it went straight into our recyclable craft box that we use, and when the kids do crafts, we pull all these things back out. You know, if it's something that you can store food in later again, try and use things that can have some usage,
some use beyond
and not add to the pollution of the environment by being a single-use item that's going to go straight from you to that person, like you said, to a landfill, and it may not even ever decompose in our lifetime anyway. So I just wanted to mention that
Yes.
quickly. We have a few minutes left to discuss one last thing, which is I think is really important. And when I read it, it reminded me of an event that happened a few years ago. So I'll read it first. This is in Bukhari by Imam al-Ghazali, and it says, "O friend, the cloth from which your burial shroud will be cut may have already reached the market, and yet you remain unaware." So when you read that, you can't help but we forget how short our life is.
Yeah.
And we're so busy, again, being busy, that we forget that we may only have moments left, never mind years. We all assume that we may make it to retirement age, unless the government keep putting the retirement age up, and we'll never experience it at all.
Retirement age is 150.
I know, exactly. But, you know, we have to remember as well that when we get to a certain age, the quality of life is not what it is when we're younger as well. And that's really testing, because we don't want
It's
to
about
say
your health span as well, isn't it? As
Yeah,
well as your
living till 80 is one thing, but if your quality of living is impaired,
if you've been pants since you were 40, then yeah.
exactly. But I think, you know, this reminded me, it may remind you as well, because I know you were there at the time, Julie, but I remember that a young boy passed away a few years ago, and his auntie had gone to Bradford, and she picked up the shroud.
Yes.
And she said, and her husband, I think it was, said, you know, we don't need it. Why are you picking it up for? And she goes, I'm just going to buy it in case. And the next day, her nephew passed away. And she didn't intend to buy it for him, but it became his. And when I read this hadith, it reminded me of that instant where, again, you know, somebody had picked it up. His shroud had made it to the market.
It had, yes.
And he was unaware. And it reminded me so much of that situation, and how true that is, you know. And it made me think, and I thought, I haven't organized. I know my mother-in-law, I know several years ago, she organized her own shroud, and she told us where she was putting it. And I remember thinking, why did she do that? You know, she's still got plenty of time. Why is she buying her shroud? And obviously, as you get older, you start to consider them. Actually, lifetime is getting shorter, and you are getting older, and you do realize that moments away it could be.
And as time goes on, you realize there's more gone than coming.
Yes, exactly, exactly. You know, and I don't have a shroud in my home myself. And when I read that hadith, it reminded me, and I thought, my shroud could already be on its way to me, and I'm not even preparing for it. Yeah, it could be in the marketplace. It could be getting coloured. It could be getting cut. It could be still be in the fields getting picked. But regardless, it's on its way to me at some point, whether it's today, tomorrow, 10 years, 100 years, it's on its way to me. And I have no idea of how close it is to me. And yet I'm planning for this evening, I'm planning for tomorrow, I'm planning for my retirement at 150, because that's what the government will move it to. It's very powerful, I think, to stop and think, actually. And since my mother-in-law organized her own shroud, and she advised me to do the same, and I kept saying, yes, okay, I'm going to do it. And it just went on the bottom of my to-do list, because everything else was at the top.
It's hard to think about it, though, isn't it? It's a hard thing to...
You know, and really, I do keep saying to myself, I must do it, I must do it. And it's just not a priority, and it should be. It should be. But then the realization of going to the market as well, and buying your own shroud, knowing that at some point somebody's going to put you into that, and that's going to be your last outfit. We have all these outfits in our wardrobe and in our drawers, and that's going to be our last outfit. Why are we not planning? You know, if you said to me, I'm going to hold a party in 6 months' time, make sure you have a really good party dress. I'm going to go, right, in 6 months' time, I need to go shopping, I need this party dress.
Going, I'll have to look at this, I'll have to look at that.
Exactly. But you know, and it could get to 5 months, then you could ring me and say, I'm really sorry, Amana, I can't do the party, it's cancelled. But
You've made all that, but there's 5 months prep in there.
But you know, death is the one thing that is undoubtedly, and
coming for us, yes.
how many of us have that shroud in our wardrobe?
True.
You know, we think, I want my wedding dress, I was going to say christening dress then. That was fasting's getting to me, lack of sleep. But you know, the like I say, you know, your wedding dress, your party dress, I don't know, whatever, you know, your graduation outfit, you know, all of these things that we look forward to, these outfits, to wearing these outfits. But how many of us are prepared to wearing our final outfit, and how many of us actually have it in the wardrobe with everything else that we have planned? It's something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to finish the show on a negative note. Death shouldn't be a negative thing, although it's hard for us that are left behind to comprehend. Death shouldn't be a negative thing, because it's going to happen to us all at some point. And if we strive,
Change of state, isn't it?
if we strive really hard to earn them good deeds and earn our place in Jannah, then we are promised eternity with those that we love. We are promised that, you know, in Jannah you will be reunited with those that you love. All we have to do is make sure that we make it into Jannah and not into Jahannam. And then we stand to be reunited with those people, and we'll never lose them again.
No, be forever. Yeah.
We'll never lose them again. We won't have ill health. We won't have to worry about death. We won't have to worry about illness. We'll have everything. So everything on this life is loaned to us. Our family are loaned to us. Our health is loaned to us. Our wealth is loaned to us, and everything ultimately returns back to Allah. So we should try and think about it positively, as hard as it is. And it's much easier to say that when you're not in the midst of grieving, but we do have to think about it.
We do.
We do have to think about it. So that is us for this week. We have talked about fasting outside of Ramadan and inside. We have talked about the moon sighting, and again, I do remind anybody who I'll try and have some more information next Sunday. I'll try and have some websites for you that you can look at, and you can contact the New Crescent Society yourselves. But the information they have is really valuable, and I do recommend that you learn the phases of the moon, that you learn how to watch for the moon, regardless of whether you're following it in this country or another country. Just learn and seek that knowledge, because it is sunnah to understand and look for the moon, and it's so mega exciting as well. It really is. If only we'd had some if only we'd had some kind of party poppers and stuff. We probably would have had a party up there.
What are they doing up that?
And anybody that has any interest in joining us for sighting the halal for Eid, you are most welcome to come and join us. Just get in touch, and we will give you the details once we have arranged them as well.
Yes.
And obviously our lead for the Northeast, which is Shema, once she has finalized everything that she needs to do for that as well. So, and then we just talked about obviously Instagram quote, Insta social media quotes versus Islamic quotes, and they're really the current quotes by celebrities or that are available on social media, as lovely as they are, and sometimes you read that and think that's nice, they really don't hold the depth or the weight or the feelings within.
They don't have the ability to make you truly happy, whereas the Islamic ones do.
So just a reminder to everybody that try and find your answers in the Quran, in the Hadith, in the sayings of any of the prophets. May Allah be pleased with them all. And in the imams and the scholars that we've got that can give us guidance, seek them first. Okay, so this is the end of our show. We do have one more show next Sunday from 3:00, and I think we have 5 guests coming in, or coming into the studio virtually, and we have some midwives coming in as well, which is going to be fantastic. So please tune in to us next Sunday at 3:00 on Sister Circle. This evening, please stay tuned as we have the Al Mustafa Centre, the mosque in Middlesbrough, coming in to do a live appeal as well. So do tune in this evening for that and give any donations that that you feel that you can give. And as I mentioned in the show, remember, no donation is too small ever. So okay, it's really, the air is really dry in here. That's why you're coughing. So Jazakallah khair for listening to myself, Sister Amana, and Sister Julie, the Sister Circle. And inshallah, stay tuned for the rest of the shows. And we hope to see you or hear from you next Sunday. Anything that we have mentioned of benefit and of good is purely from Allah. And any mistakes is unintentional, and forgive us, it is from ourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Live from the heart of Middlesbrough, this is CVFM Ramadan Live.
अब हम धीरे धीरे लॉकडाउन से बाहर आ रहे हैं। घर से बाहर 6 लोगों तक के ग्रुप में या 2 खानदान आपस में मिल सकते हैं। दोस्तों को गार्डन लंच पर बुलाइए। लीजिए, आप अपने हिस्से का काम कर रहे हैं, एक मुनासिब फासला बनाकर। लेकिन जब अंधेरा होने लगे और थोड़ी ठंड भी, तो अचानक से दिल में आरामदेह लाउंज में जाने की ख्वाहिश जाग सकती है। लेकिन याद रखिए, ताज़ा हवा में आप ज्यादा महफूज हैं, क्योंकि कोविड-19 के जर्रात इसमें उड़ जाते हैं। आइए इस अगले कदम को इंतहाई एहतियात से उठाएं। याद रखें, हैंड्स, फेस, स्पेस एंड फ्रेश एयर।
ऐ वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू ही मेरी मंजिल है।
हर किसी की मंजिल वतन कॉन्टिनेंटल स्टोर ही तो है। वतन कॉन्टिनेंटल स्टोर, जहां पर आपको मिलेगा ताज़ा गोश्त, चिकन, फल और सब्जियां, तमाम मसाला जात, आला वैरायटी बेकरी का सामान। इसके अलावा किचन के तमाम बर्तन भी दस्तयाब हैं। इस रमजान आएं और हमारी स्पेशल ऑफर्स का भरपूर फायदा उठाएं। आपके मुंतजिर वतन कॉन्टिनेंटल स्टोर।
Within Continental Store, 26 to 30 Northcote Street, Stockton-on-Tees. Telephone 01642649400.
Whether you're planning an intimate or large-scale gathering for friends to celebrate a wedding or birthday, hosting a conference for business delegates, or staging a fashion show, the Grand Astoria is the perfect place with everything you need to make it an event to remember.
With bespoke catering, decoration and waiter service, air-conditioned rooms and separate bride and groom suites, the exquisite Grand Astoria venue combines the historic and the modern, luxury and comfort to make it your first choice for any party or ceremony.
The Grand Astoria sets the standard for function venues with projectors and screens, staging, as well as spectacular lighting and sound equipment, which will make your event sparkle with all the glitz and glamour to rival a Bollywood film. Contact us today for a free quote or make an appointment to see this spectacular venue for yourself, and let our friendly and experienced staff help you plan your dream event.
The Grand Astoria is located on Wilson Street, Middlesbrough. Call us on 01642 247 171 or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
खाना मिलेगा, पीना मिलेगा।
भैया की शादी नहीं, आपको खाना शाना जाना पड़ेगा। खाना शाना, a taste of home.
देसी खानों में एक जाना पहचाना नाम, जायके में सबसे अलग और कीमतें बहुत ही मुनासिब, जहां पर आपको मिले आपकी पसंद के तमाम खाने।
Visit us today for amazing tasting samosas, pakoras, kebabs, curries, biryani, aloo tikki, spring roll, burgers, chicken wraps and so much more. Khana Shana, 15 Parliament Road, Middlesbrough. Open 7 days a week, 12 noon to 10 p.m. Telephone Middlesbrough 270-628.
घर से बाहर घर जैसा खाना, सिर्फ खाना शाना।
शादी करोगी,
शादी तो मैं करूंगी, लेकिन एक शर्त है, योर इवेंट्स नॉर्थ ईस्ट की प्लानिंग के साथ।
Your events Northeast, फिर कबूल है।
Your events Northeast. helping to make your events and special occasions extra special. Whether you're planning a small and intimate wedding or something of a grander scale, let our experienced team make it a stress-free experience for you. We can take care of all the arrangements from flower walls, cakes, fruit displays, chocolate fountains, dessert tables, photography, videography, and so much more. Call us now on 077 141 99453 to discuss your requirements, or visit youreventne.co.uk and check out our social media accounts at yourevents.ne.
Manjaro's, the home of fusion food, blending African and Caribbean flavors to offer mouth-watering array of dishes.
मन चाहा खाना और लजीज खानों की आला वैरायटी सिर्फ मंजारोस पर।
This Ramadan, make Manjaro's takeout your go-to iftar option. We have all your favorites, whether it's Waka Waka chicken, Rasta pasta, Manjaro's Pamo, Supreme chicken, or the delicious lamb chops. Call and collect from our restaurant, telephone Middlesbrough 60 50 60, or check out manjaros.co.uk.
मेरी आपकी हम सबकी पसंद मंजारोस।
You're listening to CVFM Ramadan Live.
Illallah, 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 illallah. Sallallahu ala sayyidina, sallallahu ala rasulillah.
You're listening to CVFM Radio. दिल में जो है तुम्हारे दुआ मांग लो, तुम इबादत का अपनी सिला मांग लो, करो इबादतें होंगी इनायतें, ये महीना तो बस अता करने का है, उसके दरबार में दुआ करने का है। माहे रमजान है, माहे फैजान है।
24 hours a day during Ramadan. This is CVFM Radio, Ramadan Live.
या नबी नजर करम फरमाना, या नबी नजर करम फरमाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना। ज़हरा पाक के सदके हमको तैबा में बुलवाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना। आपके दर का हूँ मैं भिखारी, आप है मेरे दाता, सारे रिश्ते नातों से है प्यारा अपना नाता। आपके दर का हूँ मैं भिखारी, आप है मेरे दाता, सारे रिश्ते नातों से है प्यारा अपना नाता। आप तो है आता है जिनको सबकी लाज निभाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना, ए हसनैन के नाना। साया है लेकिन दो जग पर है आपका साया अर्श मुअल्ला बना मोहल्ला दीद को रब ने बुलाया बेसाया है लेकिन दो जग पर है आपका साया अर्श मुअल्ला बना मोहल्ला दीद को रब ने बुलाया हश्र तलक ना हश्र तलक ना होगा किसी का ऐसा आना जाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना सज गई है मीलाद की महफिल क्या है खूब नजारा कैफो मस्ती में डूबा है देखो आलम सारा सज गई है मीलाद की महफिल क्या है खूब नजारा कैफो मस्ती में डूबा है देखो आलम सारा ढूंढ रही है आपकी रहमत बख्शिश का बहाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना निस्बत का फैजान है देखो खातिम गौस जली हूँ करता है मुझ पे नाज जमाना मैं औसाफ अली हूँ निस्बत का फैजान है देखो खातिम गौस जली हूँ करता है मुझ पे नाज जमाना मैं औसाफ अली हूँ आपकी आल के आपकी आल के दर का सग हूँ साइल हूँ पुराना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ज़हरा पाक के सदके हमको तैबा में बुलवाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना ऐ हसनैन के नाना
You're listening to CVFM Ramadan Live.
मेरे दिल में हो उल्फत रसूल की उल्फत रसूल की जन्नत में लेके जाएगी जन्नत में लेके जाएगी चाहत रसूल की जन्नत में लेके जाएगी चाहत रसूल की चाहत रसूल की चलता हूँ मैं भी काफिले वालों रुको जरा चलता हूँ मैं भी काफिले वालों रुको जरा मिलने तो बस मुझे भी मिलने तो बस मुझे भी इजाजत रसूल की जन्नत में लेके जाएगी चाहत रसूल की चाहत रसूल की सरकार ने बुला के मदीना दिखा दिया हाँ सरकार ने बुला के मदीना दिखा दिया होगी मुझे नसीब होगी मुझे नसीब शफाअत रसूल की जन्नत में लेके जाएगी चाहत रसूल की चाहत रसूल की कब्र में सरकार आए तो मैं कदमों में गिरूं गर फरिश्ते भी उठाए तो मैं उनसे यूं कहूँ अब तो पाए नाज से मैं ऐ फरिश्तों क्यों उठूं मर के पहुँचा हूँ यहाँ इस दिलरुबा के वास्ते तर पाके उनके कदमों में मुझको गिरा दे शौक तर पाके उनके कदमों में मुझको गिरा दे शौक जिस वक्त हो लहद में जिस वक्त हो लहद में ज़ियारत रसूल की जन्नत में लेके जाएगी चाहत रसूल की चाहत रसूल की
104.5 CVFM आया है माहे सयाम बमा परवरदिगारे इलाही के कुरान दुआ है मेरी तुझ पर तेरी रहमतों मगफिरतों और निजात का हो एहसान कुछ मेरा भी बन जाए हकीकी जिंदगी का सामान
You are listening to CVFM Radio Ramadan Live.
बिस्मिल्लाह हम हम्दो सना रब्बे जुलजलाल की। कर दो करम मौला कर दो करम हम पे करम मौला हम पे करम।
कर दो करम मौला कर दो करम हम पे करम अल्लाह हम पे करम।
बिखरे हुए शर्मसार है हम रहमत के तलबगार है हम। वास्ता नबी का मौला रख लो भरम। कर दो करम मौला कर दो करम हम पे करम मौला हम पे करम। कर दो करम अल्लाह कर दो करम हम पे करम मौला हम पे करम। देने वाला तू बड़ा है हम तुझी से मांगते हैं करता है तू ही अता। हाँ मुश्किलों की कर कुशाई गम से दे हमें रिहाई कितनी सी है इल्तिजा। बिखरे हुए शर्मसार है हम रहमत के तलबगार है हम। वास्ता नबी का मौला रख लो भरम। कर दो करम मौला कर दो करम हम पे करम अल्लाह हम पे करम।
मौला जी मौला मौला जी जी अल्लाह जी। तू खालिक के दो जहां है जरे जरे से आया है तेरी ही हम दो सना। ओ मौला रब कायनात तू है रब मौजज़ात तू है बंदों पे तू मेहरबान।
बिखरे हुए शर्मसार है हम रहमत के तलबगार है हम।
वास्ता अली का मौला रख लो भरम।
कर दो करम मौला कर दो करम हम पे करम अल्लाह हम पे करम। या रब्बे मुस्तफा या रब्बे अंबिया या रब्बे मुस्तफा या रब्बे अंबिया या रब्बे मुर्तजा या